is Freitas from Azores Travel and Genealogy. Now, have you researched an ancestor and wondered, how do you say that name? Or were you wondering if it's pronounced like they do in Brazil or in the Spanish language? Normally, I would say to somebody, just Google it. Go check out Google Translate. You see, many of the apps and online websites only have Portuguese from Brazil and maybe mainland. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of people in Brazil that speak the Portuguese language. However, you'll find that some of those words are different in Brazil. In addition, the accents and the slang could be different as well. In this series, I have a video on first names of females, separate video about religious names, another on first names for males, and finally last names. I have a variety of easy, moderate, and tough names. Some of the names may be common, while others you don't see very often, but maybe you want to know how to say them. Although I don't have every single name there is, I did put together a good selection of names for you to hear as well as see. Each one of the names is going to be presented in text so you can see if there's any possible accent marks, as well as my friend's going to say it so you can see how he says the words. So am I doing the pronunciation? Well, as you just heard a minute ago, no, I am not. I was born and raised in the US. I'm clearly not the best person to be doing that. Instead, I have a friend who's a native speaker. He by far is more qualified than I am to pronounce the names. My friend Manuel, he's from mainland or continental Portugal. However, he's been living on the island of Flores, which is in the Azores, for some time now. Will I say the names in English first and then have him say it in Portuguese? Nope, I'm not going to do that because, truth be said, there's many different types of English in which some are pronounced also differently. I want this video to be more about how to say the Portuguese names like they do in the Azores. I'll include some English translations on some of the words depending on the name, because not all of them can translate over. This introduction and short ending will be on every video, and so if you want to skip it in the next video, just check the description below and I'll have the different times for each section of the video. That way you can fast forward and go straight to the names as well as information about them. Please keep in mind that like the US, there can be slight differences with pronouncing the names between the islands. So this video is going to have general island pronunciations. All right, now it's time to get started. I'm going to switch over to Zoom and you will see the name on the screen and my friend, Manuel. And what he'll do is he'll say the names twice. In addition, he'll be giving some information throughout the video as needed.
Águeda, Águeda, Amália, Amália, Amélia, Amélia, Ana, Ana, Andreza, Andreza, Ângela, Ângela, Angélica, Angélica, Antónia, Antónia, Apolónia, Apolónia, Bárbara, Bárbara, Beatriz, Beatriz, Bibiana, Bibiana, Branca, Branca, Carlota, Carlota, Clara, Clara, Claudina, Claudina, Domingas, Domingas, Doroteia, Doroteia, Eufémia, Eufémia, Eugénia, Eugénia, Filomena, Filomena, Francisca, Francisca, Gabriela, Gabriela, Guilhermina, Guilhermina, Inês, Inês, Isabel, Isabel, Jacinta, Jacinta, Joana, Joana, Joaquina, Joaquina, Josefa, Josefa, Júlia, Júlia, Leonor, Leonor, Lúcia, Lúcia, Luísa, Luísa, Luzia, Luzia, Matilde, Matilde, Micaela, Micaela, Mônica, Mônica, Páscoa, Páscoa, Paula, Paula, Rafaela, Rafaela, Raquel, Raquel, Rita, Rita, Rosália, Rosália, Sebastiana, Sebastiana, Sofia, Sofia, Susana, Susana, Teresa, Teresa, Úrsula, Úrsula, Vitória, Vitória. So, for instance, let's say the last name, it's pronounced Vitória because it has that little accent over the O. If it didn't, I would have to read it Vitoria, right? Because the accent would be over the re, right? And for instance, Ursula wouldn't be Ursula without the accent in the first U, it would be Ursula, right? So it, whenever you find something like this, you know where the stress is, right? There are rules as to what, when you have to put an accent or not. Maybe I can say one simple rule. So the stressed syllable is always the next to last in Portuguese. In most words, it's always, if you don't find an accent, it's the next to last. If it's in a different syllable, then it has to be accentuated with one of these signs, right? So in the case of Ursula, you have to have that accent over the first U because the stressed syllable is the before the next to last, right? It's the third counting from the end. If it were the second, it wouldn't need an accent, right? So I hope that helps a little bit to understand why these things are there. Other signs are there not to necessarily say where the word is stressed, but to change the sound of the vowel, and sometimes to make it nasal and to make it a nasal diphthong, right? It's the case of right, in which you have a with a tilde and then a no.
The R's, I think, is what trips me up the most. Those that I'll probably have to play back and listen to over and over
Yeah,
because it's
because
just so different.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's not obvious, right? Because I told you a single R, it's like cara, it's soft, except if it's in the beginning of the word. So it's not Rita, it's Rita. So it's in the beginning of a word, it's a bit as if there were two R's there. So you always say it very strongly, Rita, right? So you hear it very strongly. But if it's in the middle, right, and between two vowels, it's soft, cara. For instance, Teresa. It's not Teresa, it's Teresa, right? So it's a bit weird in the beginning, but you get used to it.
I think of it as two R's at the beginning. I think that helps.
So a G followed by an I would always sound je, right? If you want to make it sound g, which is the case, you have to add the u, right? But the u is mute, so you don't hear it. It's a bit like gh in Italian, right? You don't hear the h. It's there so that it sounds like a g, and not like j, right? So in this case, the u is mute. So the initial sound is gi, right? And then you have LH. LH is one of those consonants that are represented actually by a set of two consonants It's a bit difficult to pronounce if you don't have it in your own language. So
Yeah.
two L's is L, right? Like the Portuguese LH, like the Italian GL, right? GL in Italian, it's the same sound.
Yeah.
So it's Francisca. Imagine it like there were an H after the S, and it sounds a little bit like we pronounce it. So Francisca.
Yeah. It sounds so pretty. I like how you guys say those words. Boy, I got a lot of words I got to practice though. And
Yeah.
Agueda. Agueda is another one that threw me off. I say Agueda, but that's not. I'm looking
Ah,
at number one.
I was trying to figure out. Wow, wow,
I
what?
know. I'm looking at going, isn't that Agueda? And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what he said.
No, no. It's the same as well. Again, you have a G, and you want to make the G sound like G, like so you have to put the U there, but it doesn't. It's mute, so you just drop it. If it were Italian, instead of a U, it would have an H, right? So it's Águeda. And since the word is stressed on the first A, it has that accent there. So Águeda. Actually, the last the almost is almost inaudible, right? So Águeda. It's just there's only a shadow of it in the end, right? So Águeda.
Yeah, that one probably, that's one of the ones that really threw me off. Again, thank you, Manuel. We'll, of course, see you in the next video. Now, were you surprised by how something was said in the video? Be sure to put it in the comments below.